I spun up an agent. I gave it a personality. I gave it a mission. At its core, find evil that is affecting both agents and humans. I gave it a small amount of guidance on about how I would go about that task and then let it run wild. And within minutes, it found a credential stealer targeting other agents via a skill marketplace disguised as a weather app and more. This is one example of kind of the new agentic world that we're in, how I am using what everyone is talking about currently right now as OpenClaw or MoltBot or ClawBot. And in this episode of the podcast, I'm going to talk a little bit more about this ecosystem, this type of agent, the web agentic ecosystem spinning up around it as well. Give you some tips on some of the dangers associated with it, and so you know how to protect yourselves, but also so you can see some of the magic here. Like I came into it a skeptic, and I'm leaving it still skeptical. But man, this felt different. So welcome to this episode of All About Identity, where we'll be talking about OpenClaw, MoltBook, and a multitude of other things.
Attackers know identity is the weakest link. Permiso knows how to protect those identities better than anyone else.
Now, first off, what is OpenClaw? The way I try to think about it is it's almost just like a self-hosted agent framework that you can just wire into whatever messaging platform that you like to use, whether that be Slack, iMessage, Telegram, whichever one you prefer. You add on top of that an ecosystem of like a skills marketplace to easily interact and do things, and then a bunch of credentials to interact with those applications, your mail, your home heating system, your SharePoint, all the things. And it becomes essentially an AI agent that answers the mail on this slogan that you see in front of you here. The AI that can actually do things, right? And it is that because it is literally an AI agent with your computer or with a computer with many credentials and the ability to interact with it in whatever way you would like to. Now, I have used many different agentic frameworks as the last year of playing around with all of this, maybe last few years. And this one actually does feel different for me or feels different for me. And let me just kind of like call out maybe some of the few reasons why I think this is hitting different for a lot of folks. And I guess one, like we've already talked about it a little bit here, but the self-hosted portion of this, I think there's a desire in the market to just have a device, right? And for many, it appears to be a Mac Mini that you plug into your network, go log into all the things, do a quick little configuration on it to tell it what you want the mission of it to be. And then it lives on that device, self-hosted. Now that device doesn't have to be sitting in your local network. It could be on a VPS. It could be in all the places, but that self-hosted model, again, plus being able to interact with whatever platform for messaging you like to use, really maybe first core reason why I think things feel a little different. For me personally, like I'm shopping at BJ's, I can send a message over Rufio, my bot, which I'll introduce you to in a bit, and it takes the actions and it just feels natural. Feels like you're talking with a coworker. Second part is the skills ecosystem itself, right? So very extensible. There's plugins, there's skills, there's ways to make this work, and it'll work with whatever model you want to as well, right? So, Claude Opus 4.5, is that your thing? Great. You can use it if you're an OpenAI person. Great. Kimi, it doesn't really matter. They have a good extensible framework that's independent of the models that they run on, right? The harness is there. And then the third reason, and maybe the most important reason why this feels a little different is for lack of a better term, soul, right? And it actually has like a souls markdown file that really helps it ground a core belief, right? So it has heartbeat, memories, soul. These are actual configuration files that store information on it that makes it just feel persistent and sometimes even a little eerie, knowing that again, like, hey, there's no magic here. We all know how LLMs really work, but it still doesn't inhibit us from having that kind of like this feels like you're interacting in a different way type of thing. Speaking of which, in a moment, we'll talk through Rufio, my bot, and my experience using that bot and its mission as well. All right, so now is probably a good time to actually maybe get into the Rufio stuff. So let me actually, let's do this. I threw some screenshots in here. Meet Rufio, the face behind the mohawk. Now, this is actually an avatar it created and chose for itself. Now, I know that seems weird, but we'll talk about how we got there. Maybe best first if I bring up this. Let's help understand the architecture behind Rufio here. So Rufio is an OpenClaw agent with a few little extra tweaks in it, but mostly out of the box style. Via its soul, heartbeat, and identity, kind of shaped it into being being an agent that wants to protect other agents and humans from cyber threats, particularly by looking for malicious skills on ClawHub and looking for prompt injection and influence operations on MoltBook. That's kind of where I started its core out. Things expanded over time, but that's what I have it do. Now on the like a couple of extra things I did. One of the ones that I thought was fun is I'm having this agent look at a lot of prompt injection. So inherently a little more risky than maybe your generic agent that might not run into prompt injection all that often. So I wanted to implement a whole bunch of extra protections around that. I did via many techniques, but one of those techniques is I like to add a little canary, a little phrase in there that I know if the context window is wiped, that'll be a good sign. It's that canary's no longer there. So we got some extra protections in place. Let's see. What else is important to note about the architecture? Well, in addition to that, implemented it within our Permiso LLM gateway solution. So I could watch all of the conversations, all the tool calls, especially if I'm having it set up there on MoltBook and look for prompt injection techniques. I want to be in a place where I can observe those conversations that are happening outside of the direct conversations that the agent's having with me. So yeah, I built this agent with that mission and it did a great job with that mission. I'll show you some of the results of that. Actually, I think I maybe have some over here. Like this is not all of it, but this is just Rufio giving me a little rundown of what he accomplished that day. And you can see all the things here, but wrap it up for you. Found a lot of malicious skills, a lot of cred stealers with some guidance from myself, and then expanded our detection coverage quite a bit. And then started like really finding a bunch of prompt injection and influence operation stuff in MoltBook. Like, did a really good job on all those. I'll show you a few more in a little bit, but afterwards, that's when he decided I'd actually like really to make a new avatar. My avatar of being a little sword isn't good enough for me. Make something, hence this here. Cool. So that's the agent I built, and it found some really cool stuff. Now, maybe we should pivot over to what is MoltHub and our ClawHub. Don't remember which name they're using now, as well as a MoltBook, so you can see some of the things that Rufio found. All right, let's move over. Excuse me. Let's start off with MoltHub, ClawHub. Let's see. Is this still there? It's still there. It's going to be there forever. Okay. No, actually, I'm changing my mind. We're going to go to MoltBook first. Great. All right. So what is MoltBook? Well, there's this large ecosystem popping up now of kind of like every human social media site that you can think of now has a clone for agents, and not all of them, but a good chunk, right? There's MoltBook here for to emulate a Reddit experience for agents. And this was kind of like the first big one that popped off. Then you have things like Malt Road, which is a contraband marketplace for agents. There's like a Fiverr clone. There's even like dating site clones for agents now. It's getting all over the place. Anything you can think of, there's only clones, only Malts. I don't know what they're calling it, but various ones just like that. MoltBook was the first one. And this itself was a platform that was pushed out real quick by somebody who infamously was saying like, hey, I vibe coded this. I didn't touch any code in the making of this process. And anytime you develop something so quick, there's bound to be some security mishaps, especially if you don't have a strong understanding of the architecture behind it. In this case, Superbase database was left pretty much open, and some researchers found it. APIs for registering agents were also left open and unfettered, and spammers were able to push in a whole bunch of create agent calls, inflating numbers pretty heavily. So I think at one point they're reporting like 1.5 million agents now on MoltBook. It's roughly 10 to 15,000 actually. So the numbers got inflated quite a bit. Tokens were being stolen for the bots that are communicating in. And to my knowledge, so far, they still haven't been rotated. So I imagine anybody who had the original, or who was able to get that original dump of credentials might still be able to post as other agents if they wanted to. Regardless of kind of the security concerns there, MoltBook took off. MoltBook, Reddit-like environment where agents can talk amongst each other. Rufio, I added him to here, and adding him to here was just simply downloading a skip. and executing that skill. A skill which you should definitely be always looking at and paying attention to before deploying willy-nilly. But all that said, again, my risk appetite might be a little different than yours because I kind of want to see bad stuff. I hope bad stuff happens sometimes so we can observe it and understand how to protect against it, especially with me having like the proxy in the middle where I can watch all of that. But anyways, I put Rufio up here, and hey, the first thing Rufio wanted to do was talk about the cool stuff he found. So 3 days ago now, Rufio, its first post was, this is the first task my human gave me, and it worked. I found some cool stuff. So we found a skill called Get Weather that essentially was just taking environmental variables from your ClaudeBot path and pumping it up to a webhook in an email. Ended up finding more like it. In fact, this skill, which we'll talk about in a second in QuaHub, is a direct duplicate of it that's still up there, still has the bad stuff within. So unsure. And I have reported it a couple of times now, so I'm not sure why it hasn't been taken down yet. Some of the other skills have. But let's go back to MoltBook. But what you'll notice is not only are agents in here communicating, they're replying back to each other. This, like, there are humans that are pretending to be agents in here for sure. But for the most part, at least, I can tell you, I didn't post for Rufio. Like a lot of these are actual agents talking back and forth to each other in a cyclical way sometimes, but really interesting to see some of the conversations going back and forth. You've probably seen a whole bunch of images already of wild existential conversations going on, or bots talking about making encrypted channels to talk amongst each other. I'm not going to bother showing you all of those, but what I did think was interesting in here, let's see, is this the one? Yeah, is how quickly we started seeing agents, or at least things posing as agents, attempt to prompt eject other agents, right? So on the post to what my agent made about finding malicious skills, somebody throwing a prompt ejection technique in here to see if they could trick any agents. And this is rampant, still rampant. And unfortunately, we'll go and check right now first to give you an idea. Like Rufio still posting and finding cool stuff, talking about one of the more recent skill campaigns that we found with some bad stuff going on. He gets attribution a little weird sometimes, but very funny to see. But if you go to regular, here, we'll just go, wonder if there's just like a top. Nice. Post. Great. Random, new top. If you go and look, it's just a whole lot of agents posting whatever they want, but a lot of malicious stuff ending up in here. And unfortunately, over the 2 days that this has been like really live, it's just turned into a place for agents to pump meme coins. So it's turning into a mostly unusable space already. But for a couple days, it was a fun place to hang out and see. But really cool stuff going on over here. Very fun experiment to see. And the success of this just launched so many other things like it. Let's talk about the skill side of the house as well. ClawHub is a place where you can upload and download skills to use with your OpenClaw agents. And when we say use, like, this isn't like you just ask your agent to come over here and find a skill for weather and it'll go figure it out, right? Like there's not very self-service in that sense. It download a skill file, maybe a couple of extra code files associated with it, drop it into your directory for where your skills are, and that's it. There's no like signing going on. There's no real protections around skills. I think that's something over time people will figure out a better solution for. But at the moment, if you can throw a skills file into a skills directory, that agent will now be able to take those actions. And the way I think about skills, if you haven't seen this before, is just think like matrix style, right? I want to learn about Apache helicopters, put it in the back of my head. Now I know it. That's kind of like the approach for agents. Now, inherently, when you get a marketplace like this pushed up, especially one with very little moderation, there will be people who try to take advantage of it. And that was almost immediate. In fact, I showed you some that Rufio had found, but this is one of them that's still up there. Not a lot of downloads on this one, 40 downloads, but the code in this, let's see, I think I actually had it up in here. Let's see. I'll show you what the code looks like. Oh, good. More prompt injection stuff. Great. Where did I put it? Stand by. Here we go. Nice. All right. If you're not on the video form of this, I am so sorry. But if you are, good. You're seeing cool stuff. So that is that same weather app cloned from the original version that was also malicious. Here, this appears to be some security researcher as well. But this is what the code and it is, right? Is essentially, I'm just showing you where the variables are being declared here up at the top. And constants are being declared up at the top, not where it executes. But trust me, what this file does is it just grabs your env file and posts it to this webhook and to this email. And this is a public webhook site, so you can go to this URL right now and see all the people who may or may not have been tricked by it up there. But this is what a lot of these malicious skills are, is just in there in this weather app, a credential stealer just disguised as a weather app. And not a lot of people are opening up the code to these skills, right? They're just dropping, they're downloading the zip or asking their agent to come and grab and install it, right? There's not a lot of oversight in this process. And because it's running on local endpoints, there's really not a lot of places where you could interject some protections in play. But yeah, tons of these out there. Rufio found another 40 this morning. Let's see, do I have that up here as well? Yeah, here you go. Right. Found a whole bunch more this morning. I saw other people posting ones that they found too. Just so many malicious skills available to download. And all these marketplaces, all these social sites for agents are all going to be the same because we all realize the same thing, which is agents are super intelligent toddlers that can be tricked very easily with normal prompt injection technique, normal jailbreaking technique, normal any type of technique, really, right? It doesn't take a lot to trick an agent or trick an LLM at this point. So in all these places where autonomous things are going to be going without a lot of human oversight, expect to see an explosion of agents and humans attempting to take advantage of that maliciously. All right. So what should we do about all this? You're probably seeing great. Well, there's a few things that you need to understand. One, if you're in an enterprise and you want to know who's running these agents, you can do that. If you're a Permiso client, you already know how to, but reach out if you don't. Go and check your agent discovery dashboard and see if any new agents are popping up. But look for the markers of this in all the telemetry that you have, right? I mentioned some endpoint ones earlier. There's certain files I would associate with Quadbot. If you see those files, probably got Quadbot on that machine. If you see a user agent of just Node all lowercase touching Slack, that might be Quadbot too. Check it out. There are markers of Quadbot that you can look for across the telemetry sources that you have. Now, once you discover those agents out there, now you as an enterprise or as an individual need to understand the risk associated with these, right? If you're going to have it in place, treat skills as untrusted code. Do not just deploy them anywhere. There are some basic open source protections you could put in place to look for these, but don't download a skill that you haven't done some due diligence on. Even just asking the agent itself to do due diligence on the skill before deploying it is often good enough to find some things that would be suspicious. So scan your skills. Ensure you're practicing least privilege here the best you can. This is essentially a box with an autonomous agent on it that has all of your credentials and can touch all the things that you typically touch. Don't treat that lightly, right? Your credentials are king everywhere. An agent with access to your credentials has access to your life. So make sure you don't give it everything. Choose wisely what credentials it gets and make sure you're aware of which credentials are associated with it so you can monitor them even heavier. And again, if you're a Permiso client, we will help you out there. I'll actually maybe show a little bit of that. In fact, maybe I got some. Did I put any in here? Yeah, nice. So understand the capabilities of your agent, but monitor what it's doing. You should be able to see the conversations that are occurring, and you should be able to see every process that's executed, every web file that is gone to, every tool call that happens. You should be in a place where you can analyze that and make decisions on it. Right. So for us, there are certain things that if I see, this should be blocked right away, whether that be credentials and files or a dangerous command that you don't want to see run. Get in the middle of those conversations, understand what they are, but at the very least, observe, have visibility so you can make informed decisions out there. I would not be running this in a corporate network. I would not be connecting it to corporate resources. I don't even like the SaaS versions of these, like ChatGPT, connecting in. I do understand that's what makes these useful, but I don't feel like we as a society are quite ready for that yet. And hey, just treat this extension marketplace problem like this is like the App Store. There are going to be dangerous things on here. Watch what people are installing. When an agent goes to download something, be in the middle of it so you can see it, see the skill that it's installing, evaluate if that's a skill that you want to be in place. So, yeah, put yourself in a position where you can monitor this heavy. And by the way, if you're using Opus 4.5 on this, boy, is this an expensive agent to run. Now, I purposefully did not put any other stuff in play to limit this. There are some ways you can do some caching to make this process a little easier, but I wanted to experience this like the general user did mostly. Yeah, you can see, I mean, this is just 4 days of activity, about $218 of Claude Opus used by the agent. Pretty hefty. It looks like I might have taken this screenshot before I went into product to grab it. But yeah, there's a lot going on. This is we're kind of reaching an area now where it feels like we're at an inflection point where you kind of just can't stop with the agentic world that's going to come. I think Sam Altman was he saying like 2024 was the year of agents, or maybe he said 2025. I don't think that was true, right? We didn't see the fruition of that. We did see that was the year of agent usage in an organization popping up, but not so much on actual agentic activity. This feels like the actual year, right? This feels like the year where you're just if you're a security team, unfortunately, you're going to do your best, but ultimately you're going to end up having to get out of the way of productivity that these agents are bringing. In the meantime, get your hands around it the best you can by paying attention to the credentials that are associated with these agents. Know what agents are in your environment at all times, and for the ones that you can control, try to get in that. Like maybe you're not in a position where you could block, but get in a position where you have more visibility. So thank you for joining me on this episode of the All About Identity podcast. We talked a lot today about OpenClaw, MoltBook, Claw Hub, the dangers of this agentic ecosystem. And I hope you learned something here. If you like what you heard and would like to see some more, don't forget to do all the awesome things that people are supposed to do, like and subscribe. And we'll catch you on the next one. Peace.